Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Glen West, Go 24/7 senior writer, is with us. He joins us just about every Tuesday, but was traveling back from Dallas, Fort Worth, so good enough to give us some time today. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How about yourself?
Doing quite well. How was the scene in Dallas?
Yeah, I think pretty positive. From an LSU perspective, it was hot and just kind of walking around the downtown alley, Dallas area. But once you got inside, you really, this is always a really good kind of first sense in terms of just getting into the football mode and, just getting some ideas from the coaches and the players. About just kind of the upcoming season, and I think we learned some stuff. I think all three of the players represented LSU well, and we can kind of go into the fall now with a little bit of a generic understanding of what to expect.
I want to talk specifically about the tight end position. Mason Taylor was there in Dallas with Brian Kelly, and Brian Kelly said he brought him because it feels like the nation should know about Mason Taylor. We all know about the catch against Alabama and the two first-rounders that were catching passes instead of him a lot of the time last year. But what was your impression of the junior tight end making his SEC Media Day debut?
Yeah, I mean, he's been somebody we've been able to talk to really ever since he's been a true freshman and being a starter at LSU. And I think, he's handled himself so well over his first couple of years in the program. He's really established himself, I think, as a major, leader of this team going into this year. But now I think we're also going to get to the point where maybe his leadership role, in the program kind of matches up to what we're seeing on the field in terms of a featured player in this offense. I really do think they're going to really try to lean into him a lot more this year. Just based off the conversations we had on Monday, Coach Kelly talked about knowing an NFL tight end when he sees one, and he thinks Mason Taylor's definitely cutting that mold. And you get the sense that Taylor is really kind of ready to make that ascension this year. And I think that LSU certainly is in a position where they need to find some catchers that are available and ready to kind of compete on a day game in game out basis. And I think he's somebody that has as good a chance as any to have that breakout season we've been waiting for. We thought it might be last year, but he obviously had some injuries, and then of course Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas were very much the showstoppers last year. So with a little bit more of an open offense this year, I would expect Mason Taylor to be a huge part of what they want to do offensively in the fall.
Where do you think he will rank on the team in receptions when it's all said and done? I'm assuming that he stays healthy.
I would say top three. I mean, I really do feel like he's going to be somebody that they go to in certainly short yardage areas, but I do think that there's an untapped potential there in terms of his yards after the catch. I mean, we've seen it at times in his career where he's able to turn, short catches into large gains. I think that's going to be a part of this offense they really lean into now. And I did notice, just, kind of went back and watched a little bit of the Wisconsin game and kind of, his performance in that game when he had about 7 or 8 catches. And Garrett Nussmeier wasn't just checking down to him to check down to him. They were getting him those short yardage kind of throws for him to break up field and to get big yards after the catch. And I think that's going to be something where, LSU is really going to need that this year, because I do think they have a lot of good vertical options, whether it's Chris Hilton, C.J. Daniels, Kyron Lacey, Xavier Thomas. All those guys can go get you, big 20+ yard explosive plays. But I think Mason Taylor's the kind of guy that if you get it to him in the short and intermediate routes, he can also turn it upfield and get you some big yardage plays as well.
If I asked you what position group has had the biggest overhaul and improvement since Brian Kelly got here, it's clearly offensive line, and everyone would say that. I don't know that tight end has gotten necessarily the credit that it may if we get into the middle of this season. Mason Taylor is the headliner there. Do you think there's another tight end or two that could have an impact this year?
Yeah, I do. I think, look, Maureen Pimpton and Mac Markway are the easy answers there, just because they've been in the program for a year and you've gotten a chance to see them probably a little bit more. But man, I'm super excited about Trades Green. I mean, you walk around the facility this summer at these camps, and the guy's legitimately 6'7", 235, 240 pounds, and really can kind of move extremely well. He's got a great vertical as well. I mean, there's just so many ways in which LSU could potentially use him in this upcoming season. I'm really excited to see how they use Trades. If he proves to be ready to kind of take on a little bit of a role here as a freshman, I think he's somebody you can split out wide and certainly put in the slot as well. I mean, he's got tons of potential, tons of talent, a great athlete. And I think, we got to wait and see kind of what the blocking looks like from him. If they really want to use, the two tight ends like we, expect them to lean into a little bit more this year. He's got to be able to handle some blocks on the perimeter. But yeah, from a pass catching perspective, there's just unlimited potential there with Trades Green, and I'm excited to see what kind of fall he can have.
So let's pair the tight end discussion with the wide receiver discussion because they kind of go hand in hand to an extent. If Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors were coming back, I wouldn't waste a lot of time talking about the tight end group because it's just not worth it. But you're trying to find guys after Kyron Lacey with Daniels and Hilton, and the list goes on and on. Do you think it's possible that they go, well, I'm not certain what we got at wide receiver. Let's use some two tight sets. Let's use these talented guys that I know a little bit more about. Or is it just going to be Mason Taylor and a lot of the wide receivers?
I could see it going a number of different ways. I do think that they are extremely excited about a number of these receivers. I think if you had to, make a prediction on a receiver that's going to have 1,000 yards this year, I think Kyron Lacey would be at the top of the list. I feel like he's kind of ready to make that ascension. We saw it in the spring a little bit. He and Nussmeier have a really nice rapport, really nice chemistry. But I do think that Mason Taylor and Nussmeier also have a really strong rapport as well. And I think that's going to be something they really lean into this year. You mentioned the two tight end sets. I do think that's going to be an area where LSU wants to lean into more this year. And I think you kind of really have to balance that, with the knowledge that we've also gained this offseason of how they want to be more perimeter oriented in the run game. I think those two things go very much hand in hand in terms of, wanting to get those running backs out on the perimeter and having those tight ends, those athletic blockers on the outside to be able to help break those plays. So you can disguise both of them, if you're able to kind of accomplish both in the off season and get, those tight ends out on the field together with those running backs and really be able to, I think, kind of diversify this offense and make it a really fun, entertaining group to watch.
I feel like most teams' base is nickel at this point, and if you can drag a bigger body or make a nickelback go cover Kamorian Pimpton or Mason Taylor with that size and that athleticism, I question whether or not that could be a big mismatch for LSU. So we'll certainly see. I don't want to get you out of here before we talk about the Major League Baseball draft and what we've seen over the last 3 years for LSU's baseball program. What was your biggest takeaway from the last 3 days?
Yeah, I think we kind of went in with, a little bit of, guarded optimism about their opportunity to bring in a couple of these freshmen. I mean, especially William Schmidt. I think, everything that happened after William Schmidt's decision over the weekend was just going to be icing on the cake because I do think you could make the argument that after he pulled his name out of the draft, LSU had already been a big winner for the weekend. But the fact that you're also able to get Michael Braswell back, that really shores up your thoughts there on shortstop. You get Jared Jones back. That certainly alleviates any concerns about power hitting and certainly what he could potentially be next year as your everyday first baseman. You get Derek Curiel in here as well. Kate Aaron Beatty, the catcher. Those are both freshmen that have lots of potential and could be future pillars of this program. So. I think if you look at a program across the country that did about as well as you could have hoped or exceeded those expectations, I think LSU's got to be at or near the top of the list. So really good weekend for Jay Johnson and company. They also just picked up one of the top 50 players in 2025, so they're already getting a head start on next year and doing a really good job with that class as well. So I think one of the big things that coming into this offseason you wanted to see as kind of that young kind of core that you saw move out into the transfer portal that maybe didn't get a whole ton of playing time these last couple of years, the Brady Neals of the world and Cam Johnsons, all those guys that you kind of lost that you were hoping would be pillars of your program over the next couple of years. I think you more than made up for it with the draft and with the young pieces that you have coming in to combine with some of the young talent that has already played for you and will be pillars for you going forward the next couple of years as well.
Last one here, Glenn. Your time very much appreciated here on this Wednesday. Big announcement from a 5-star cornerback coming up this evening. What do y'all think about LSU's chances with Pickett?
Yeah, I think it's probably leaning towards Oregon. That doesn't mean LSU's out of this thing. They're going to continue to recruit him, into December, and that relationship with Corey Raymond is going to be a strong central piece of LSU trying to get back into that recruitment. But everything we've been hearing, it sounds like Oregon's going to be the pick tonight, but LSU will continue to stay on him as well.
We shall see. For all your recruiting coverage, all your team coverage, no matter what the sport, Glen West, Sunny Ship got you covered over there at Go 24/7. Glenn with us most Tuesdays, but made some time for us today after he got back from Dallas. Glenn, thanks for the time, man.
All right, Hunt. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.